are now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, everybody? Gene Berardelli, Ross Galloway here with you. Ross, anything happening in the news lately? I mean, it's been a week since we last spoke. Nothing's happened, right?
Gene, you are as close to actually being behind enemy lines as anyone right now in reality.
Tell me about it. It's been a hell of a couple of days. And we do have some friends waiting in the wings right now. So I'm going to bring them. Let me actually, you know what? Let me get rid of the banner that says like, share, subscribe, because we know you guys have to do that anyway. But we're going to have some friends come in right now. And we do have our little special intro that cracks Galloway up here. So I might as well do this.
So I want to thank you all for being here. And now, who am I introducing next? Who's next?
Well, who's next are our friends Amanda Kohut and Tracey Alvino. Ladies, thank you for helping us with the ratio on the show here tonight.
We're replicating the 5.
Pleasure to be here with you, gentlemen.
You guys are awesome for doing this tonight. We got a lot going on. The crowd in the chat is rolling in as we speak. Tracey, your phone was going off the hook as much as mine today, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know why. It's not like anything has happened in New York over the last 12 hours, 24 hours.
Run-of-the-mill stuff, past 24 hours. Standard, really, when you think about it. But yeah, Amanda, this is the first time you're back on the news show.
This is true. It's been a few years.
Yeah. I mean, back when we were actually doing radio. So welcome back.
And now I could see everyone's lovely face.
Well, she's talking about me, Russ, not you.
Amanda, are you still in New York, Amanda? Please tell me.
I am.
Oh!
I can't do it. I can't bring myself to leave.
All right.
Lynn, my sister's watching. She says hi. I guess that's the Kohut effect.
Hi, Linda.
So, yeah, she's in another room right now, probably watching the Mets getting hopefully winning this time around, but who the hell knows?
Don't jinx it. Don't talk about it.
Okay. Knocking on wood.
Well, you don't want to talk about how Soto was the worst deal ever? You don't want to talk about that?
Oh, he's definitely not the worst deal ever, but
that's the other New York tragedy story that
you know, Tracey, you're coming in a little staticky. Hang on, let me there we go. Much better now.
I mean,
wow. All right.
Listen.
Not for nothing, but Bobby Bonilla Day is next week.
Yes. It's our national holiday. It's going to be great. But we're not here to talk about the Mets. And even though, yes, a cosmic bard jumping in, Bobby Bonilla is no longer the worst deal ever. If you see Anthony Rendon now, he's played maybe 20 games over 5 years or something like that. Anyway, I can talk about baseball all day, but we got so much to talk about here just from last night. Amanda, I was on the phone with you for an hour last night, just trying to talk about what happened here. I know that you're not so much in the game as you used to be, but you're still a brilliant mind when it comes to what is happening in politics. From your perspective, what do you make of this win? Was this in the tea leaves for a long time, or was this a shock?
I was reflecting on this overnight, Gene. I don't think this is a shock. I think that from our perspective, you wonder how after all of the crime in New York City, all of the additional taxes, the congestion pricing, you wonder how some voters can turn around and nominate someone who's supportive of all these things that we're claiming to hate. But then I think back to 2016. I think back to 2024. The GOP had its own reckoning, and there was a great schism within the party. And we saw, especially in 2024, that there is a bit of an electoral realignment going on among different demographics. And in reading the data for the vote results, I think we're starting to see that within the Democratic Party also. And we can take a deep dive on that.
Yeah, we definitely can. Tracey, I took a little look at some numbers. And from what I saw, it looks like there's certainly a struggle within the Democratic Party, but no one can deny that this shift far left has been happening probably, I mean, we can go back to what 2018 with AOC beating that Queen. I forget the guy's name from Queens.
Joe Crowley.
Thank you. We probably read those tea leaves from back then.
This has been going on for a really, really long time. So I'm really shocked that people are shocked, because not for nothing, us Republicans and conservatives sat back and let the far left infiltrate the Democrat Party. We let this happen. We got too comfortable. Look at Cuomo's endorsements. He had Bill Clinton. He had Richie Torres. He had very, very powerful old guard establishment people. But if you look at who's below the Bill Clintons and the Richie Torreses, you have the AOCs, you have the Jasmine Crockett's, you have the crazies. That old guard, that Chuck Schumer old guard, that Bill Clinton old guard, it's dead. The Democrat Party doesn't want balance. It wants far left ideology. It's not JFK's Democrat Party, and it hasn't been for a really long time. We're just watching that establishment wing age out. That's what we're seeing here.
And I think that people have become so addicted to the dream of free stuff, pal. I'm talking to Ross right now because he's pal, I guess. That's the name I'm going with tonight. That I think people are so addicted to wanting and getting free stuff that they'll believe any, as Eric Adams called him earlier today, snake oil salesman that comes with dreams of money for nothing and chicks for free.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with what Tracey said. Not so much that it was, incumbent upon the Republicans to help fix the Democratic Party, but Donald Trump is probably the first person in politics that has ever called them out for what they really are, right? When they call us the far right, what other Republican can you remember in our lifetime that has ever called them far left, radical, extremists, or communists? That truly is what the Democratic Party has become. And, you mentioned Schumer. Schumer is a dying breed for lots of reasons. Probably the main reason, which I say every week on this show, is he is a white heterosexual male. And the Democratic Party has no room left for that demographic, right? They're going to toss him aside next. AOC obviously has some sway in New York politics. She got this guy across the finish line, arguably, and Schumer's next. She got him so rattled, I think he was in the hospital today, right, for something.
Dehydration, absolutely. Just want to check into the chat a little bit here. We got a couple of comments that were coming in. Coffee grinder. Gene's been doing this since they use couriers to transport stone tablets to get news out. Thanks. Appreciate that. I don't feel old at all. Freeman Pennington out here saying America was founded to be a Republican government. I think it's Article 4, Number 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution that makes the people the rightful masters of the government. Okay, got some good comments going on right here. One coffee grinder again coming out and saying they will implement Sharia law, so not more crime will be occurring. Jaywalking is a death sentence. See, it's far be it from me to disagree with one of our regulars, but Tracey, is that the end goal here? Or is this just hyperbole and the sort of running around with your head with fire blazing in your hair and all that? That Sharia law is coming now. That Mandani is here and all that.
Listen, this guy is dangerous, no doubt, because I'll tell you what, he's very charismatic. He obviously knows how to mobilize the youth vote. And not only does he have the young people in his pocket, he's got the wealthy, educated people in his pocket, which proves what I've been saying for a long time, that our institutions, our college universities, really are institutions of far leftist indoctrination and Marxist ideology. So I think that this election proved that. I don't think that we're going to see Sharia law, through the streets. I get people's fear and trepidation. I am more afraid of him implementing some of this socialist policies because there's really nobody to stop him in New York City. And we have a feckless governor who can't put him in check. He can't put this guy in check. I mean, they're all coming and coalescing around this guy. I'd have more respect for her if she would come out and say, listen, this guy's not it. I'm backing Adams. Because that's what she's really thinking right now. Because with Adams, the devil is better than the devil you don't. This 33-year-old failed rapper. By the way, did anybody see that rap video?
Oh, I have it.
I am offended
Don't you
that
worry.
they call
I
it
have
rap.
it. I have the
No,
rap video that we can all watch later.
you
Do
have to
okay?
see
Do we
it.
want to watch it later? Or we want to watch it now? You guys tell me.
You really should. The fact that Cuomo couldn't beat this guy, I think the point is made when you watch this rap video. It is unbelievable.
Couldn't win.
For all reasons.
Well, here. Okay, so I don't want to tease it for too long. Let's give the people what they want. In case you haven't seen it, this is a video that's been circulating of Zohran Mamdani, the current nominee for mayor of the People's Republic of New York City, in a shawarma truck, I think, rapping. I don't get it either, but let me start. No, there he is in shirtless. Hang on.
Oh wait, he's gonna get into it now. Wait, the hook. It's actually catchy.
Go ahead, make a rap for your naughty. It's a rap. Get the guap, spin the rack on your naughty.
Okay, I gotta just pause it on. This is the guy, folks, right there in the center with no shirt on. That's the guy who beat Andrew Cuomo, the man who had a $25 million super PAC backing him.
Nothing says dirty food truck food like a guy wearing an apron with no shirt on.
Listen, even me out here on Long Island, we got Naz's Halal that had a food truck by Hunter College. They're out here now with a huge store. I love all the shawarma that they offer. It's really, really good stuff. I would not order from this cart, Amanda.
I was actually thinking about the fact that I think there's a clear halal cart lobby going on here. So this way they could continue catching those pigeons in the bag and they could put their grade under the table.
Could very well be. But you know what? And I'll give this one to Tracey. This sort of thing probably endeared him to the voters that he was attracting.
I found it the cringiest thing. Maybe this is my Generation X showing, but I found this so cringy. It was fantastic. Like just that Cuomo lost to this guy. Like and you know me, I wanted Cuomo to lose for personal reasons. I certainly did not want Mamdani to win. But the fact that Cuomo, with all that billionaire, all the billionaire bucks behind him, that's what beat him. It's fantastical. In a way.
Well, and I'm waiting for our pal Obi Murray to come on. He's been delayed on the train, he told me, so he'll be coming on in a little bit to go through some of the reasons why Cuomo probably lost to this schmuck. But Amanda, let's talk about what we know about running campaigns in the People's Republic of New York City. And really, the game is all about matching funds. And early on in Andrew Cuomo's campaign, he didn't qualify for that first round of matching funds, and that probably hampered him going forward.
You know, I think there's a lot of conventional wisdom that Cuomo and the Democrat machine were relying on in order to make that happen. And I think that in both matching funds and even in the electoral outcomes in different precincts, we're seeing that the conventional wisdom didn't hold. And I think that's the question that we now need to explore. Just as an example, we assumed, and I think that Cuomo also would have assumed, that he would have been able to carry the Asian vote. Yet in some of the largest Asian neighborhoods, Mamdani was the one who actually carried it. In Flushing, he beat Cuomo 43-42, Chinatown 51-32, Sunset Park 50-39, Fresh Meadows 36-49. That's the only large Asian precinct that Cuomo carried. So the question is, why?
And the other thing, Tracey, Ross, you're going to find this interesting. A lot of the Jewish enclaves also came out from Mamdani in Brooklyn. That shocked me, Tracey, when we were talking about that briefly.
Inexplicable to me, actually, especially with Mamdani's comments on the infantada that I thought he blew the election at that point because he made these horrific comments right before primary day. But, with Cuomo, this was his election to lose. And he did a spectacular job losing it. If you remember all the New York City mayors, they all had very distinctive personalities. You go back to Ed Koch, you go back to even Dinkins, as much of a failure as he was, or Giuliani. They all had these like robust personalities. Cuomo, his contempt for the people, his contempt for going out and shaking hands and kissing babies, it was palpable. And the narcissism just seeped through everything that he did. He just came off as ghoulish and thuggish and just unrepentant. And it's a shock that he got 25% of this Orthodox Jewish voter. It's really inexplicable, but it has to be because Zoran wasn't afraid to go into those neighborhoods and exude that charm. Now, we can talk about whether or not his charm is phony. I think he's a snake oil salesman, as Mayor Adams said today on TV. But, again, Cuomo had nothing but contempt. He was rolling in on his name recognition, rolling in on his dollars, his union endorsements. That doesn't work in the New York City mayor's race. He's not running for governor.
Ross, pick up on that for a second, because to me, yes, this was Cuomo's race to lose, but we covered a lot of missteps that he made, like that $600,000 reduction in matching funds because of the collusion and the red boxing with the super PAC that Mike Bloomberg was behind. As far as campaigning goes, his team sucked.
Big time.
Yeah, but we talk about conventional wisdom. When nearly half the population that votes in New York City were born in another country, that explains a lot too, right? You don't really have these old. It's not like your parents, Gene, the Democrats that used to live in Sheepshead Bay that had some common sense. You have people like fresh off the boat, and if people are offended by that statement, I don't care. Fresh off the boat that have really no allegiance to this country yet, and when they hear a guy giving away free things and dancing in a shawarma cart, that might appeal to them, right? Let me just throw out a couple of quick things. First of all, that rap video, very Zelensky-esque, right? I get like that Zelensky vibe from that silly video. And the irony about all this Sharia law talk
and stuff.
His biggest supporters were liberal white women, right? And, all that talk of Sharia law and the fear of that type of stuff. Two more quick points here. One is I'm old enough to remember when the Democrats were saying that Pete Hegseth was not qualified to be Secretary of Defense because he never ran a large organization. Well, New York City's budget is about $112 billion a year and only going to get bigger. And this guy just moved here to this country, born in Uganda, raised in South Africa 6 or 7 years ago, right? With no real experience running anything, not even that food truck stand there. And then the last point I want to make is I'm a fan of chaos, right? So I'm kind of like enjoying all this. But here's what I think Donald Trump should do. Donald Trump could pull off a hat trick. He should jump into this race, endorse Eric Adams. That would sink Eric Adams. It will piss off Never Trumper Curtis Sliwa, and it will all pretty much guarantee a win for this communist and give New York City the mayor they deserve.
Let it all burn down is what you're saying.
From where I sit, yes.
And it's easy to sit where you are. And it's certainly easy to sit where I am. I think the only actually resident of New York City here is Amanda. So basically, we've all checked out and we're leaving you at the tab.
Listen, we all knew it was going to go that way eventually. But I want to ask you, why do you think that Hispanic and Black voters went so heavily towards Cuomo?
Habit. I also think that they had nowhere else to go. Nobody else was talking to them, really. Name a candidate out there that was talking to Black and Hispanic voters. I don't think any of them were. And possibly which ones did show up, they went with the name they knew. And because Adams wasn't there, because I think Adams has been working the mega churches in New York City for a good long while now, I think they may be holding their powder to see what happens with this race and then see which way they were going to go. Tracey, why did Black and Hispanic voters? Why do you think they went to Cuomo?
Well, Cuomo was hitting the Black church circuit, and he was getting endorsed by not only some of the Black faith leaders, but by some of the Hispanic faith leaders. One of my least favorites being Reverend, and I use that term very loosely, Reverend Ruben Diaz. So unfortunately, whereas I can see Reverend Ruben Diaz is an explicative I can't say on your show.
You certainly can. We can curse. You can say whatever you want.
You know what? I'll refer back to some Jewish slang and call him a putz. I'll keep it classy, okay?
Fair enough.
He really is just an absolute dirtbag. However, I am not part of that Hispanic population that lives in New York City, and those people do revere him. Those people are immigrants. He's taken them in. He has indoctrinated them in his own way, and they're like, well, if this faith leader says I should go for him, then I should go for him. Then you had Jessica Ramos, right? So Senator Jessica Ramos is even more of a scumbag than Andrew Cuomo, if that's possible. Because I have met with that woman, and that woman has looked me in the eyes, and she's used me for political gain as a grieving family member who lost her father in a nursing home. And so she lied to all of us. And she was putting out anti-Cuomo posts on X and sending them to us for us to like repost them. Okay. Then she just makes this deal with the devil because I think he was going to make her deputy. I do think that was the deal. And I believe that maybe she had influence in that community as well.
Yeah. And talk about one of the biggest losers of this race. That's someone who sold their soul to Cuomo and is not getting anything out of it. That's definitely one of the biggest losers. Ross, Brad Lander celebrated last night as if he won the primary. What deal do you think was cut between Mamdani and Lander? The fact that they went on Stephen Colbert and they traveled together like they were bosom buddies this whole time.
Well, before we started, I was just like reviewing the New York City ballot again, just to refresh my memory. And it really is absurd when you think about it, right? Lander was just recently arrested for interfering with an ICE arrest, if you guys remember that. He was running for mayor. I think he came in third place. Eric Adams, obviously, is a clown. Andrew Cuomo, a disgrace. What he did with COVID, no cash bail, and everything else that man has done with sexual harassment and everything else, a disgrace. This guy Mamdani, who is a communist. And then you even had Anthony Weiner, like back on the scene running for city council in New York City, right? It's a joke. I just want to jump back to one thing real quick.
Well, hold on, because we do have another one of our special guests coming in, pal. Far be it from me to cut you off. I'm gonna let you finish, but we got to bring in our next guest.
So I want to thank you all for being here. And now, who am I introducing next? Who's next?
Our good friend joining us from a secluded location somewhere in the People's Republic of New York, Obi Murray. Obi, how you doing, pal? Great to hear from you.
Gene, do I know you and this guy Russ? Who are you guys?
I mean, you used to know us in another life before we moved on from the People's Republic of New York City. But man.
You mean bigger and better things, right?
God willing.
Well, Russ upgraded when he got married. We know that.
Oh, totally. Totally. So listen, I interrupted Ross because clearly you're smarter and much more handsome and all that stuff.
Well, so you guys are all better looking than me, but yeah.
Stop it. We had a long discussion earlier today about impressions from this race, and I just want you to give the audience your elevator speech hot take of this race.
I'm happy to do that. I don't recall what I said to you, so I'll have to think about it. But Russ, continue on. I want to follow up what you guys are doing. I don't want to jump in like that since I'm late.
Oh, who's running the show here? Go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, so I just wanted to touch back on some speculation as to why blacks and Hispanics might have leaned Cuomo a little bit. Number one, he's Italian, right? And the Italians, the blacks and Hispanics kind of get along, despite what you see on TV. And for the most part, they're not radical leftists that have an affinity towards communism, like really white liberals in the Democratic Party and people that are freshly here from other countries. Maybe that would describe some of the Asians and some of the other demographics there. And Blacks and Hispanics also live in very high crime areas. They're not big fans of defund the police. Now, they may not have known that Andrew Cuomo was the one who actually signed no cash bail into law, but Mamdani is running around saying he literally wants to disband the NYPD. So I don't think that the people that live in those neighborhoods are cool with that.
Amanda, what did you see in Ozone Park last night?
Ozone Park, I saw breaking for Mamdani, and I can't explain it.
I don't know. You're 100% right. Explaining it's going to be interesting. It means a lot for the general. The Latino voters and historically the Asian voters were always more conservative Democrats. When I was doing Michelle Caruso-Cabrera's race for Congress in the Democratic primary against AOC, she knocked on someone's door whose last name was either Caruso or Cabrera. I forget which one. And they were a Democratic household with 5 Democratic votes. They slammed the door on her face. They didn't want to talk to any more Democrats. They were done with the party, and that was 2020. And that was a house with the same name as she did. I think it was a Latino household. And so Latinos are much more conservative than you would think. They also vote late, which maybe the heat had something to do with their lack of turnout. But the other thing about that area is with all the Asian vote, it wasn't just Asian, and it's not a monolithic group. Across the Asian community, he got support there. That was the amazing thing too. It was Bangladeshi, it was Southeast Asian, it was Chinese, it was everybody. And that to me is a very striking thing because that was Curtis Sliwa's vote in the last election. So that's part of it. Latinos vote late. At one point early in the night when the numbers came in, Cuomo had the Bronx 2-1, not enough turnout up there, but that gap got closed up there as well as the night went on, which tells us in the early voting and the early returns, Cuomo was 2-1 in the Bronx. But as the day went on, or the night went on, and that would have been all votes that were cast yesterday on election day, Cuomo started losing it. And I think when you look at any campaign, and you guys have all worked very close with me, especially Amanda on this stuff, but it's, there are a couple things you need to have in any campaign. The first is money. You need momentum, you need messaging. All of those things go together, and the momentum actually is the last one because without some of the earlier ones, you don't get it. When we all worked for Bob Turner, momentum was the key. We were down in the polls, then we were even, then a week out we were ahead. Even though it was a progressive poll that showed Mamdani ahead or almost in striking distance a week out, that was jet fuel for him, I think. And it sort of took away the veneer on some of the Cuomo Rose Garden strategy that had already disappeared because the press wasn't friendly. Every reason the press had to go after him, they did. He had no friendlies whatsoever that would help him out. Even at the end, New York Post barely helped him out. And same thing with the New York Times. It was don't vote for Mamdani. It wasn't a pro-Cuomo thing. So all of that just points to Mamdani has the energy right now, but more importantly, everyone can have energy, but he has momentum. And what is going to slow him down now to where, Gene, we're talking about the general. Democrats have 750,000 votes generally in the general, no matter who it is, de Blasio, Adams, and so forth. Adams had 289,000 votes in the first round 4 years ago. Cuomo had more than that yesterday, and so did Mamdani. So that's where Mamdani potentially starts in the general. I don't know that he loses them. And so you have 350,000 votes that peel off. I think this hurts Sliwa now with Cuomo out of the race because Sliwa's ceiling is probably about 30. The Orthodox vote will go, and Jewish vote will go with Adams, so he won't get that as a benefit from Trump. I don't see Trump supporting Sliwa in this race. He'll either stay out or go with Adams. So when you take the Senate race I just did for Simcha Felder's vacant seat, in that district, Zeldin got 80%, and President Trump got 77%. That's not going to go to Sliwa. I don't see that happening this time around. So the general right now is Mamdani's to have with momentum until somebody gets in front of that train and stops it.
Right. Now, Ross, I know you had a question for Obi, but before we do that, I just want to put up this comment for Tracey. Tracey is such an incredible role model. I love seeing her on your show. Oh, isn't that sweet?
Thank you.
Ross, you said you let me know you wanted to talk to Obi. Go for it, man.
Obi, good hearing from you again. So question, admittedly, I'm out of the game, out of New York City politics, but I enjoyed watching it on TV the other night. So my question is, why did Andrew Cuomo concede so quickly and drop with ranked choice voting if results are going to be retabulated and results will be posted next week? I'm just curious, why did he drop so quickly?
I think a couple things. Number one, man, are you in New York still, or are you elsewhere in the world?
Still here in the city.
Okay, so you saw it then up close. It was do not rank Cuomo across the board, Working Families Party, DSA, and everybody. So that was always the mantra and I said this on CBS with Marsha Kramer 2 months ago, even before Cuomo was in the race. If he goes to 8 rounds, he's got a problem, because that means you're going way down below and you have to wait for the Lander voter. I thought Adrienne Adams was actually going to come in third until she collapsed her campaign. And Lander's votes were going, I think, about 10 or 20% to Cuomo. Adams' votes were going, Adrienne Adams, were going about a third to Adams, a third to Mandami, and a third to Lander. I'm sorry, Cuomo, Lander, and Mandami. And if she had 12%, that's only 3% to Cuomo. Therefore, he's going from 37, 38, 41 with her. He doesn't get to 50. And Mandami, at 9:05, I think the numbers were 37, 43, and everybody else down below. And then Cuomo dropped down to almost 35, 36 a little bit, went a little bit in reverse. He never got to 37, if I'm not mistaken, as the night went on. I kept watching every 5 minutes. All of that just points to it is mathematically impossible, statistically impossible, I think, for him to get to 51%. What was there, 980-something thousand votes, 990?
993.
Separated by about 70,000 last time I checked.
And there was 940 last year. I thought there was going to be about 1,000,001, which would have been better for Cuomo, possibly. I don't know how many people didn't show up because of the heat or not, but still, he did better than Adams did and still got shellacked. So, Russ, I mean, the answer to the question is he saw the writing on the wall, and at 9:05 he was at that number, and at 10:55 he was at that number, or what he conceded about 10:30 or 10:15, and it was shocking. And he didn't really concede. He'll say, "I'll see where it goes." But we all know election night, when you run the numbers, you see what's coming in and what's not in yet and so forth. You could not point to anywhere in the city that he outperformed. And think that was the thing they saw internally, that any hope they had a week ago was disappearing. On election day, any hope they had with turnout disappeared when the final number was less than 1 million. 25% of the early voters were new voters. That was pretty much 100% Mandami. And if you take that number and start with that number, that's 100,000 vote lead. And you can take all those numbers and slice them up any way you want. And to get to 450, what are we talking, 495 to win, Cuomo would have to get 100% of everybody behind him. Yeah, basically.
Exactly right.
Mathematically possible, statistically not.
So we talked a lot about what happened yesterday. I want to talk about one thing that happened today. This is a clip from Fox and Friends with Eric Adams going out in reaction to what happened. First of all, Eric Adams going on Fox and Friends to get his bandwidth. Not exactly a great choice, in my opinion, considering it's the People's Republic of New York City. But just want to hear what he has to say, because it'll give us the indication of the vectors of attack that he's going to be using in his campaign real quick.
Fund the police. This candidate, Democratic Socialist, he wants to freeze the rent. He wants city-run grocery stores, social workers to replace the police, because that's going to help. He wants $60 billion of debt fund for affordable housing. He wants free buses, no cost for childcare, baby baskets for newborn, and a $30 minimum wage. How can someone vote for this?
He's a snake oil salesman. Mm-hmm. He will say and do anything to get elected. Think about this for a moment. He wants to raise 1%. He wants to raise tax on 1% of New York's high-income earners. As the mayor, you don't have the authority to do that. You know who has the authority to do that? An assemblyman, which he is. He wants to do free buses. He could have done it at assemblyman. He doesn't understand the power of government and how you must making sure you improve your economy, raise the standard of living, and this is what we've done in the city. And I'm looking forward to being on the campaign trail. And
so he's looking forward to being on the campaign trail. Obi, you're one of the masters of messaging. You crafted the messaging for the special election back in 2011 for Bob Turner to win the seat from Anthony Weiner. The first time a Republican held that seat in 80 years, and you win races in New York City for both Republicans and Democrats. Grade the messaging of Eric Adams as he takes his first swing out post-primary.
I think it's okay. I think he has to come up with 3 things that are on his message for what he's going to do. He won after COVID because his message on day 1 of that campaign was public safety, and his message on election day was public safety. Andrew Yang's message was, let's get out of COVID and bring the city back. That was already done by election day, and therefore crime was the issue that Eric Adams was able to deliver on. So he has to have 3 things of what he's for. If you take what the Democrats did against President Trump, or tried to do, and they've been doing ever since, Orange Man bad doesn't work. Well, socialist bad doesn't work. If the direction of the city, if the opinion of the voters is we're heading the wrong direction, who's going to be the best shepherd to change that? Now, Eric Adams would not have been able to do that in this primary. Between the petitions and yesterday, he didn't have enough time to come out and do it, nor the money. He now has 3 months to get that message across to voters, and to have that be the choice. The problem's going to be, how many more voters is Mandami going to get above the 750 Democrats that come his way? How many of the original 750 will Adams pull off, which reduces that number, of course, and builds him up? And what's the magic number to win? If Eric Adams can pull off 350, leaves 400, and let's say another 50 or 75 are in there, that's 475. Adams has to turn out another couple 100,000 voters or take them from Republicans without pissing off Democrats. There's many Republicans that I've worked with in the city that have gone to places and been supported. Keith Wolford, 125th Street, black candidate up on 125th Street, talking to candidates, 3 women that were black in their 70s, super nice, love Keith. Hands the palm card, have his support. They ask, what party are you with? This is 2018. He says Republican. They give the card back and say, I can't vote for you. That's how damaged the R brand was. And that's why Eric Adams isn't taking the line right now. And how does he embrace some Republican vote away from that turnout for Curtis historically? And how does he turn out the independents possibly, or pull some Democrats? I don't know the 3 messages yet. I don't know what the 3 are, but 3 is what it is. And he's got to go after Amanda. Oppo is key right now. Somebody has to find the negatives on Mandami that move voters. Free grocery stores are actually good. Government subsidized are bad.
Absolutely right. Just real quick, Tracey, I want to focus a second because we were talking earlier today about Curtis Sliwa. Mm-hmm. And since that conversation and seeing that he has had 0 presence in the media today, the day after the primary, I've gone from saying, well, the long shot isn't as long as it used to be, to now saying, you didn't even take advantage of any opportunity today. What are you even in this race for?
I'm disgusted.
What is he even in this race for? What is he even in this race for?
100%. I'm disgusted. Actually, I'm going to take it a step further. I'm disgusted by the New York GOP, and I'm disgusted by the New York City GOP, because when it became abundantly clear that Mamdani really had a shot, they waited till the day before the primary to mobilize social media influencers to vote for Cuomo. That was the great GOP strategy. That was the great hope. What are we doing here? So I'm going to blame them as much as I'm going to blame Curtis. And Curtis and the GOP better get their act together, because it's going to be a long few years with Mamdani at the helm. Either that, or Adams and Curtis maybe cut a deal where Adams says, listen, I'll make you my deputy chief of public safety, because that's where Curtis excels. That's, he's known for that with his guardian angels, right? He's the protector of the city. So unless they create a deal and join forces, I'm afraid that we're going to have Mamdani. They really just, the GOP and Curtis need to get their acts together, for real. I'm getting really upset. Today was
Amanda, is this such a Amanda, can they get their acts together? I don't think they can get their acts together in time for this race?
No.
Obi was talking about 90 days, right?
Well, aside from getting their act together, I'm more concerned about how he plans to finance a run as an independent candidate with 90 days on the clock for him. I mean, we're talking about a massive campaign that he has to run. We are talking about Bloomberg levels of campaign contributions needed here. Can he raise that money?
Well, if Republicans were smart, they would put, and if they think they can win, they put money behind them. But Obi and Ross, I'm going to let you get some questions in here. Is there any amount of money that can rehabilitate Curtis Sliwa in traditionally right-leaning voter populations like the Jewish population to make him a viable candidate at this point? And if not, are people telling him to drop out, do you think?
Is that to me or Russ?
No, that was to you, pal.
I think anyone that talks to Curtis and asks Curtis to get out is either not sober or crazy. Because it's a wasted conversation. Curtis has wanted to go against Andrew Cuomo for decades and against Adams for the past 5 years. So I just don't see anything he's going to do, and anything that Curtis would do to get out. Why would he give that up at his age?
Well, for the sake of the city and having a Mamdani mayoralty.
Curtis thinks, and you can't fault him on this yet. He thinks if he gets about 30 or 35% and does the Zeldin number, that he could win this if the other two split theirs and makes it that tight. I just think if Curtis gets up there, rehabilitating Curtis and putting money behind him isn't the issue. Mandami's got to be stopped. His momentum has to be slowed down. But the issues that move voters have to be determined. For instance, I mean, during COVID, I remember distinctly, I was running the primary against AOC for Michelle Cruz Cabrera. There was so many underserved communities out there for testing and then for the vaccine and for food and supermarkets. You know, the way to answer that to some extent is to find some cheap city property and put grocery stores in the areas people can walk. So you're not going, imagine right now in this heat, going shopping for your family, getting milk, vegetables, and taking a bus and being outside with any of that food for an hour. What would happen to your food for your family? You lose the money and you wouldn't have food to feed your family. You go to the bodega, you're going to pay how much more for it? You need to take care of people across the city. So the message of taking care of people is a good message. How to do it is not. And he also uses that to screen the other issues. What's going to happen with our cops in the city? Under President Trump, recruitment is up. Under Biden, it was down. Right now, cops in the city are thinking, oh, we love Tish. Even if she's here for Mandami, what happens if Lander's first deputy mayor? They're going to go outside the city or not. They're going to retire, or they're not going to join our ranks. So those types of things, who's going to keep the city safer? Under Adams, his first 2 years, he was hamstrung by what Albany did to him. He's hamstrung by the immigration. He tried to work with the Biden administration. He now has an administration he can work with, and Democrats will take shots at him for doing it. What's Kathy Hochul going to do for him? He helped her during her race last time. The National Guard were in the subways last time, or Grand Central and different places across the city. That was unprecedented. She gave cops to the city to protect people in her budget because he didn't have it. And then he got stuck with the bill for housing the immigrants. What?
Yeah. Hey, Ross. I'm sorry, Obi. I just want to go to Ross here because I've never seen him this quiet ever, which means we're having a pretty good conversation. I want to know what you're thinking, pal.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are killing it. So I think the Hochul Zeldin race was real illustrative of the fact that I just don't think Republicans are going to be able to pull it off, even in a 3 or 4 way race in the city. With the number of Republican voters that have fled the city and state of New York since COVID, and when you dovetail that with a lot of Curtis's comments about Donald Trump over the years, I just don't see any way possible he's going to be able to pull this off. I know he's making the rounds on Hannity's radio show, and he's been on Fox News trying to soften his stance with Donald Trump. But it leads me to this question, Obi. I'm curious what you think about this. So, does it even matter who the mayor is? Because when you talk about the New York City government, the New York City Council has 45 Democrats, 6 Republicans. It's veto-proof. The Iranian parliament has more of an opposition party than the New York City Council. So it doesn't even matter who gets elected mayor at the end of the day there?
what's the real question there, Russ? Though.
The question is, let's say Curtis wins. He has 45 Democrats in the city council. What would the difference? What difference would it make? What can he do?
The short answer is, look what Mitt Romney did in Massachusetts with Democratic legislature. He did it because he led with the backing of the people and the energy and the support. That's the kind of thing he has to do going forward. Anybody, frankly, Adams has to do that because he'll be a different Democrat. Mandami doesn't have that problem because he'll push them further left and they'll just follow him because they want to be him someday. You know, that's the kind of problem. But you know, again, Romney. I sat with Romney back in 2008, and he was talking about how he was able to do things as, you know, a Republican in Massachusetts against legislature that had veto-proof margins. So, you know, that kind of stuff can be done, and sparingly. Rudy did it. He was able to keep him at bay.
I guess so, but when we start comparing Curtis Leawood to Mitt Romney and Rudy Giuliani, and especially to the people that would be surrounding Curtis if he were to, by some miracle, be able to get in, and especially in this political climate that is such a zero-sum game, I don't see any compromise coming from any side. If anything, what Ross was trying to say here was that everyone's heels are so deeply dug in that basically nothing would get done anyway if he even gets to that office.
Mm-hmm. You know what? What's the old adage in the campaign? Here's the way I could say it. You have to win the primary before you get to the general.
Right.
In this scenario, you have to win you have to win the race. I was just quoting the president. That's why I did that. You have to win the race.
We are not FCC regulated. You curse as much as you fucking want to.
You know, the colonel in the Army told me, when you swear as an officer, it just shows you aren't educated enough to pick other words.
Got that, Galloway? You hear that?
Cool.
What rank are you now, Russ?
Russ? I retired last year as a command sergeant major.
Awesome. That's amazing. God bless.
Yes,
you know the difference between you and a second lieutenant, right?
What is the difference between him and a second lieutenant?
He got promoted. The second lieutenant didn't.
There you go.
Again?
He said the difference between you and a second lieutenant is that you got promoted and the second lieutenant didn't.
Well,
you know what?
I don't want to go too deep into the military, but a sergeant major is an E9, and I got promoted 11 times. So that might tell you.
There you go.
I went backwards a few times.
So
there you go.
But Russ, you need to get elected before you worry about governing.
That's the key takeaway there for
Fair.
sure. So the last thing I want to talk about here, and then Obi, I'll let you go because I know you're not exactly comfortable right now where you are necessarily just sitting around talking to us. The second city council district had a certain former congressman running who ended up getting right around 10%. Any thoughts? I'll start with you, Amanda, and then we'll go to Obi. Any thoughts about the seemingly final chapter of Anthony Weiner?
You know what? I think he should have chosen another alias. Maybe if he, went by Carlos Danger, maybe something spicy. But I think it's finally over for him. Go quietly into that dark night.
Obi, he lost to a guy named Harvey Epstein.
I'm not going there, guys, but it's done.
But yeah, I mean,
by the way, and his ex-wife married a billionaire just weeks before. It's a heck of a month for him.
Not great at all. I mean, there are some videos we have to watch one day. Did you see these web videos he made with these two old Jewish men? That was a huge joke. Amanda, you saw it, right?
Yes, and the funny thing is, I actually think that if those were more widely circulated, I think they would have done for him what some of these viral videos did for Mandami. They were actually kind of endearing because there was a question of authenticity between Mandani and Cuomo, I think, in how voters receive them. And it's small, silly things like, how do you take your bacon, egg, and cheese? Do you have a Metro card in your wallet? Things like that. And Mandani definitely came up as more authentic than Cuomo did. So then you go over to those videos that Weiner did, and I said, yeah, that's my culture. I understand that. And I think if more voters saw that, I actually think he would have gotten a little tick up in the polls.
Well, 10%.
I think they were actually good.
Maybe he got a tick up in the polls and got out of the single digits from it. So last thing I want to talk about here, and that's something that's really near and dear to what Tracey has been doing with Voices for Seniors, is to basically give you the last word here about this chapter of Andrew Cuomo from the perspective of the families that you represent with Voices for Seniors. I know that you guys put out a statement last night. As you sit here now, about 24 hours post results, having spoken to other people in your group, what is the sentiment now? Is this mission accomplished, or is this just one chapter closes and another one opens?
Well, now we feel that we can transition back to what our original mission is, and that's to get accountability and justice for the 15,000 people that Andrew Cuomo murdered. That's the way we look at it. So we're going to focus on the DOJ investigation that we worked for 5 long years to get. And I'm looking forward to Andrew Cuomo going away politically. If nothing else, if I get no justice, I don't expect to see Andrew Cuomo in an orange jumpsuit. I really don't, because I'm a bit jaded over the last 5 years. But if at the very least, maybe we ruined him politically, maybe, because I do believe he's bowing out of this. That's the talk. And I heard from somebody deep inside his campaign who does it for the money. I've heard a lot of things. So I have a little insider. And that mole told me he's not running on the independent line because he knows there's just no pathway forward. But the way he's going to sell it is going to, for the good of the city, I'm going to step back. The voters spoke, and I'm going to listen, and I'm going to work on myself. He's going to try to rehabilitate his image, and he's going to come back and run again for some other kind of office. So I feel like we definitely put a big chink in his armor, rather. And if he does try to rear his ugly head again in any kind of politics, we'll be there.
And Obi, does Andrew Cuomo have any political future in elective office? Obi, you're on mute. Somehow you hit a mute button. There you go.
You can never count him out, but I'm pretty close to it right now. I don't know how what his path would be, but you can never say never.
Mm-hmm.
Does he try to run against?
He could apologize. He could. No, he won't be able to pull that off after what he did in New York. He won't get the money he needed. And it's too soon. He's got to wait a few years. He's got to go off into the wilderness for a while.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's really all the questions I have. Ross, you have a last line of questions here before we let everybody go?
No, just to piggyback on that last one. I don't know, wild card thought here. I think if Cuomo came out and shocked the world and actually endorsed Adams, to try to preserve whatever legacy he has and try to position himself as a moderate in a very extreme Democratic Party, he could have a political future. Not going down with this.
He might want to work on not insulting nursing home families to their faces like he did in that debate. I think that, listen, I am not arrogant enough to think that we made that big a difference in it, because honestly, I had people writing me today saying, don't you think a murderer would be a better choice than a socialist? And they're saying that to a woman that lost her dad to COVID in a nursing home, right? So that's the way people think. But we did something. I do believe that we kept just throwing that rock at Goliath, and with all the rocks that were being thrown at him, it did a little something.
Absolutely.
I agree with you. Man is evil. Yeah. We've never gotten retribution for the COVID years, especially from people like Andrew Cuomo. Yes.
Never apologized. And when he did his debate, I think that really sealed him. When Lander brought one of the nursing home, it was a son that we happen to know, and Andrew Cuomo laughed in his face. The optics of that were just absolutely powerfully horrendous. I think that definitely moved a few people.
Yeah, and the fact that you were showing up at nursing homes with your organization, and then he would cancel and not show up. He
Yeah.
tried the Biden lid strategy, working off his name recognition only, and it failed him.
And like a ghoul, he was sending people to our events. Everywhere we were, he would send a spy.
I remember.
Yeah.
'Cause I was at that event in February that we covered here on the show, and you said that there was someone in the crowd, and he stuck out like a sore thumb. By the way,
I know. Wasn't a very good spy. It was like the worst.
No.
He was like a CIA out of central casting.
Absolutely. Okay, so guys, gals, thank you so much for a fantastic discussion. Thanks to Obi Murray for stopping by. He was running late because of train issues, then he ended up somewhere else, and he had other commitments. So thank you, Obi Murray, for coming on and dropping some wisdom as well for us. Tracey, anything you want to promote, discuss, and let people know about that's going to be happening with you in the near future?
Well, listen, Voices for Seniors does a great holiday initiative where we go into nursing homes and we find nursing home residents that don't have any family at all. And we gift them with Christmas and Hanukkah gifts and give them some love. So don't forget, there's a lot of elderly people that need your love. And if you want to donate a gift, you can check out voicesforseniors.com. And every single proceed, every gift, I assure you, we have the pictures to back it up. So it goes to our senior citizens that most need it.
Yeah, and the fact that you're asking for that now already means it's going to ramp up to be a very, very good year for that, hopefully.
Yes,
and we'll keep getting the word out.
Christmas in July. Well, Christmas almost in July, right?
There you go. Absolutely. Amanda, I know you have nothing else to plug, but God damn.
I have nothing to plug, but I'm going to end this show on a high note, Gene. The Mets beat the Braves 7-3.
Hey! Even a blind squirrel finds a nut in a heat wave. So there you go. So yeah, okay. I'm a little happier about that. And listen, if there's anything Obi wants me to plug, I'll put it into the comments later with a bunch of links and all that stuff. By the way, Tracey, just so you know, me, Amanda, Obi, Russ, we all met during the Bob Turner special election campaign. So that's sort of the
I kind of gathered that from all of you. I do want to say to Amanda, I am praying for you and everyone in the city. Because like for me, I look at it like, listen, if it wasn't for Obama, we wouldn't have Trump. And if we didn't have Biden, we wouldn't have Trump again, right? So I'm almost like, I want to see the city burn to the ground, like in a selfish way, because I think it's the only way to bring it back. But I don't want it to hurt people like you, Amanda. Like I hate that I feel that way because it's people like you that suffer.
I have to say, Tracey, even though the national headlines when you think of New York State politics is stuff like this, Mandani and Cuomo, there's so many little bright lights throughout the city that I don't think that people who aren't invested in the political game know about. I don't think they know, for example, that we have the largest number of Republicans in the city council in I think over 70 years now. I look at election returns and
look at
Republicans were winning in the Bronx. There are things that now we can say that even a few years ago were inconceivable. So as dire as things seem, there are still these little specks of light there.
We got to get you moved into a Republican jurisdiction so you can actually understand what you're saying right now.
Amanda for council.
I can't do it.
Like that big.
Amanda versus Carlos Danger. I'd love to see that race.
Oh.
Do you know how many subscribers we would get in that race? That would be unreal.
It wouldn't be fair. Let me just put it that way. It would not be fair if that happened. I would definitely walk in with advantage there.
Well, listen, if anybody's looking for opposition research, I'm sure you can recommend someone, if not you, but someone else to do it. It seems like you would have the most important job in this race right now, according to Obi.
When I think back to 2011 and the Turner race, yes, there were things like the Ed Koch endorsement that were tie turners, but the one campaign ad that the Turner race did was about the Ground Zero Mosque, which was the opposition research piece that I found. And that became the everything that the campaign invested in, and that was a winning message. So it only takes one to turn the tide.
It was as Ross Galloway has said for decades now, almost, the wedge issue that you found that turned the tide in a lot of ways and turned voters on their ear. So you can always brag, my dear. You can always brag. Ladies, I'm going to let you go. Ross and I have a little bit more business to tend to here. We're going to do our final thoughts and get out ourselves. But Tracey Alvino, Amanda Kohut, you guys are freaking awesome. Thanks for joining me and Ross here late on a Wednesday night. We really appreciate it.
That was a lot of fun. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to boot you both right now. So good and bye. Ladies, thanks so much for joining us and hanging out with us. Ross, you finally get a word in edgewise now. Just in time for final thoughts.
Listen, that's what happens when you have so many women on the show. But at least it proves we actually know girls for some of our haters out there. Let me go first, Gene, with the final thought, if you don't mind. So Amanda mentioned, the Republicans are winning a couple of seats here and there. We got one in the Bronx. At the pace Republicans are picking up seats in New York, we should have a majority in the city council roughly in the year 3000, maybe.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah. So if the Democratic primary last night or on Tuesday night proved one thing, if it proved nothing else, that the Mets are not the most embarrassing thing in New York right now. When we saw that list of candidates, although the Mets are pretty far up there too. I mean, for God's sake, I was supporting the long shot candidacy of Paperboy Love Prince. Yes, that's a real person that was running for mayor of New York City on the Democratic line. So here's my final thought, man.
Wait, hold on. Before you finish your final thought, you know he won a race?
Did he?
He got one of the judicial nominating seats for the Democrat Party in this county.
That guy's going places, man. I'm going to follow him.
He's going to be choosing judges.
Love it. Perfect. Why not? And that kind of segues nicely into my final thought. So, you know, when you have a used car and you love that used car and you had that used car for a long time, you grew up with that used car, but the transmission starts slipping and eventually the engine goes. At some point, you got to let that used car go, man. And you got to get yourself another car or something, right? That's New York City. New York City is doomed, okay? I don't care what anyone's saying about we picked up a city council seat there and we got Rhino Nicole Malliotakis out in Staten Island. It's doomed. Now, I love Amanda, but fuck her. Let the ship sink. You know what I mean? It's time to junk that thing. For those of us that have left, and I opened the show with this. I'm sitting watching TV when anything crazy is happening in New York with a bowl of popcorn, laughing and happy that I'm not there anymore. So F it, man. Let it sink. That's the only way. You got to teach them a lesson. Give the people what they want. They want a communist mayor. Let them have it.
Well, from my final thought, it's going to be short, sweet, and to the point here. My goal in covering this primary in the People's Republic of New York City was to do whatever I could, what little I could, to stop Andrew Cuomo. I told you at the beginning of December that I had a vendetta going into 2025. The vendetta can now be closed. Andrew Cuomo went down and down hard. Down goes Cuomo. Down goes Cuomo. And as for the rest of the fate of the People's Republic of New York City, it's been on this slide down into socialism, communism, whatever the hell you want to call it. People in the comments trying to say we don't know the difference between the two, but whatever, screw them. It's been on this slide for the entirety of my adult political life. And now it's there. Surprise, surprise. And now everyone wants to sound the alarm bells. This is like the people who want to play the last sonnet with the string quartet as the Titanic has reached the waterline. It's done, guys. It's got to be burnt down to be built back up again into anything valuable or useful. That's it. As we say on the show, shut it down, New York City. Shut it down. And that's going to be it for the show here, my friend. Pretty good show. We didn't have to do too much work.
No, great show. We had some great people on tonight.
And hopefully we brought some insight to your life. But until next week, it's Gene and Ross here behind enemy lines. We're going to shut this sucker down. Good night, one and all. Now play our motherfucking anthem.
Not without electoral.
Go fuck yourself. Is that clear?
Teeth don't let them have sway. Conservative battalions walking them out, marching through the streets while the buffoons all shout. Move in the shadows, flag on my chest, repping my clan, putting faith to the test. Cause we're playing blues behind enemy lines, fighting for the truth, feels like wartime. Don't back down, keep it rugged and raw, cool in the chaos, but loud in the war. But loud in the war. Thunder, arm in advance, march to the anthem, this is our chance. If I ever stand with a smirk and a gaze, holding down the fort in this Democrat case.